I'm Joe Lample. When I created Growing a Greener World, I had one goal: to tell stories of everyday people, innovators, entrepreneurs, forward-thinking leaders who are all, in ways both big and small, dedicated to organic gardening and farming, lightening our footprint, conserving vital resources, protecting natural habitats, making a tangible difference for us all. They're real, they're passionate, they're all around us. They're the game changers who are literally growing a greener world and inspiring the rest of us to do the same. Growing a Greener World, it's more than a movement, it's our mission.
As a gardening communicator, I have the unique opportunity to visit some really cool gardens all around the country. So when I was asked to write a magazine article on the Phipps Conservatory, dubbed as the greenest conservatory in the world, naturally I was intrigued. So I had to see it for myself. And once I had the tour, I knew that I'd be back and I'd be bringing you with me. Now, one of the cool things about Phipps and their dedication to sustainability, it extends far beyond just what's going on under roof, and in this case, all the way out to the street. Now you see all this snow, but then you see this perfectly clear walkway, and you might think, well, that's salt or de-icers or other chemicals, but then you need to think again. What they've done is they've taken the waste heat from inside the building, and once the temperature outside reaches a certain level, that heat is transferred to pipes that are underneath here, and it melts the ice and snow, so you never have any of that, and you never have any chemicals. And who wouldn't want to be inside that tropical conservatory on a day like this?
Now, the guy behind all the greening at Phipps is Richard Piacentini. He's the executive director. Richard's made a lot of changes to Phipps over the last few years to make it an international model for sustainable building. And I think the fact that this is a botanical garden and conservatory makes it even better.
In 1893, when Henry Phipps gave the conservatory to the city of Pittsburgh, it was given at a time when people had a totally different view of the environment than we do today. You know, back at that time, people thought there were no limits to the amount of resources they could use, or the amount of water or energy that they used, or the amount of pollution that they produced. In fact, a lot of people believed that we could conquer nature. Of course, now, many of us realize that that's not true, and we need to find a much more sustainable way in order to interact and live in this environment. And we're really excited with the opportunities we've had to create a facility that's being recognized by many as one of the world's greenest gardens. Back in the late 1990s, we started to focus on an expansion plan for the conservatory, and at that time we were really focused on how can we improve our visitor amenities, how can we replace some of our dilapidated facilities that would be attractive to attract people to want to come to Pittsburgh and see the conservatory. We weren't really thinking about green buildings at that time, or sustainability for that matter. In the process of developing this expansion plan, we interviewed a number of architects, and we heard about this new program called LEED, which stands for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. You know, at that time, we didn't realize that buildings account for almost 40% of the energy and water we use in this country, and almost 40% of the pollution we produce. And we said, boy, you know, we care about the environment. Shouldn't our buildings reflect our values? So we decided to go for LEED certification. And it's been an amazing process of learning and discovery for us, because, you know, once we got involved in this, we decided, why stop at the building? Let's look at everything that we do. So now it's about 2003, and we're getting ready to plan out the whole construction process for this new facility that we're going to build at the conservatory. And we decide, you know, let's start with the Welcome Center, because that's the place where we can have the greatest impact on the visitor. That's the place where people are going to be coming into conservatory for the first time. That's where we should make our first statement about being green and sustainable. Recently, we were very excited with some very special recognition. You know, back in September of 2009, President Obama selected Pittsburgh to be the host site for the G20 conference. And he selected Pittsburgh for a very important reason. He saw Pittsburgh as a region that had reinvented itself from its old industrial past to a city that's now becoming relevant for the 21st century, a city that's focused on the environment and green technologies. And in many ways, Phipps represents a lot of that turnaround that you've seen in the city. Now we have a facility that's on the cutting edge of some of the newest technologies and is being recognized as one of the greenest gardens in the world. We're very excited with that. We were very excited when they selected Phipps to be the host site for the opening reception, for the official welcome for all the delegates, and the site where all of the world leaders had dinner. I can't tell you how exciting it was to be here and see all those people in this conservatory.
So Richard, it really feels very nice in the Welcome Center, a lot better than outside, and it's so bright. But what's interesting about this area is it's where it all started for you in this LEED development, right?
That's right, Joe. In fact, this is the first LEED certified building in a public garden in the world.
Huh. So what are some of the specific examples that make that so?
Well, there's lots of natural light, there's natural ventilation, there's lots of low VOCs in the products that we use. As a matter of fact, the tile you're standing on has had a major impact on the whole way we started looking about how we operate Phipps.
How so?
Well, I came into the Welcome Center one day when they were installing this tile, and you know, with LEED, you're supposed to be using local materials. And I looked on the box and I saw that it said made in Turkey on it. I was like, well, that's really strange. I thought we were supposed to be using local materials. So I called one of the people working on the project and I asked him about it. He says, oh, we already got that point. I was like, wait a second, that's not why we're doing this. We're doing this because we think this is the right thing to do. And that one tile changed the way we started looking at everything. We said, you know, why stop with the building? Let's look at everything that we're doing. And we started to look at things like our cafe and said, you know, let's focus on local and organic foods. We didn't get any points for that, but we thought that was really important. Let's get rid of the plastic disposables. Let's ban bottled water. When we started talking about our gift shop, we said, let's focus on fair trade items. Let's look at the kind of products that we're selling and making sure that we're not supporting people who are cutting down the rainforest. It doesn't make a lot of sense to tell people when they go through the conservatory to care about the rainforest, and you go in our gift shop and we're selling trinkets from people who are cutting it down. So those are the kinds of things that we started to think about.
It's really important to walk your talk.
That's right. You know, ignorance is not bliss. It's really important to know how things are made and where they come from.
Right. One of the things that stood out for me on my last visit is in the new conservatory. Now, we've all been in conservatories before, but let's face it, the design really hasn't changed in over 160 years. But at Phipps, they've taken 21st century technology and applied it to a historical design. Now, I wouldn't do it a lot of justice to try to give you the details, but thank goodness Richard is here to fill in the blanks. So Richard, talk about some of those innovations here.
Well, you know, one of the first things we decided is, you were exactly right, that we said there's got to be a better way to do this. We immediately challenged our architects and engineers. We said, let's come up with some new ideas of how to make this building be more efficient. And so one of the first things we asked them to do was to think about opening up half the roof. And you know, the first reaction they had was, you're crazy, you'll ruin the chimney effect. And I said, you know what, chimney effect's not all it's cracked up to be. Let's come up with a better way of doing this. And humor us, do this, let's see what it looks like. So they did. They ran some studies on it and they realized that if we open up half the roof, we can tremendously improve the air movement through this conservatory and keep it a lot cooler. But we said, you know, that's not getting us where we want to be. And then we heard about this thing called earth tubes, and we said, you know, we had no idea what earth tubes are, but we found out that if you bury pipes underground where the ground stays 55 degrees year round, you can use the earth to cool the air before it gets into your space.
So just to clarify, because I don't want to miss this, we're talking 55 degrees all year round, including the summertime, right?
That's right.
55 degrees all the time? How cool is that? Okay, now what about the winter? You got any special things?
We did. You know, one of the first things we did is we took advantage of thermal massing. We also put in a root zone heating system. You know, somebody found that if you keep the roots of tropical plants warm in the wintertime, you could turn the temperature down about 10 degrees at night. Just like a lot of people do at home, they turn the temperature down at night to save energy. We could do the same thing here. But probably the most important thing we did was when we realized that all the direct winter sunlight comes in through our south-facing wall.
Yeah.
No direct winter sunlight comes in through the roof. We said, well, if that's the case, let's insulate the glass in the roof. That'll make the building be a lot more efficient because that's where you lose most of your heat. You save a lot of energy that way. And then we made our shade system function so it could act as an energy blanket so it holds heat in the wintertime as well.
So we have the south-facing single pane wall that brings in all the heat, and as heat rises and wants to leave the building, you've prevented that from happening by putting the double panes there and the insulation blanket.
Right. In fact, this conservatory uses 1/7 the energy to keep warm in the wintertime than a typical conservatory. And on top of that, we have practically zero cooling costs, and the electricity is made by a fuel cell.
Now that's the 21st century kind of stuff I was talking about. Okay, so I know we got a lot more to see, and the greenhouse,
That's right.
that's even an efficient place here.
Right.
We're in one of the many greenhouses that Phipps has where they grow out a lot of the material that makes it into the public setting. But when they looked at everything, they even looked at the behind-the-scenes things. What are some of the features, Richard, that you implemented here in the greenhouse area?
Well, you know, Joe, you're right. These production facilities are a really important part of our operations at Phipps, so we decided we need to make them be as efficient as we possibly can. And one of the first things we did was look at how can we control the summertime heat. You know, greenhouses get incredibly hot in the summertime, so we selected a relatively new technology that doesn't use vents, doesn't use fans, which use a lot of electricity. Instead, when it gets hot out, the whole roof opens up. And when the roof opens up, there's no glass trapping heat inside, so there's no greenhouse effect.
Right. On top of everything that you've already done, what lies ahead, Richard?
Well, we have some very exciting opportunities ahead of us. Right now, we're looking at getting the old conservatory, try to make that building be more efficient, but we've also just finished designs on our Center for Sustainable Landscapes, which is going to be one of the greenest buildings in the world. It was designed to meet the Living Building Challenge, which means it'll exceed LEED Platinum. It'll be zero net energy, zero net water, an incredibly efficient building. In fact, not only will it be super efficient from an energy point of view, but it's designed to capture over 2.5 million gallons of water a year from that roof on that building, as well as the landscape and some of the roofs of our existing buildings.
So a green roof.
Yeah, very, very much so. And it's a very exciting opportunity not only to create this building, but also to use this as an opportunity to create a whole series of programs for kids and adults, talk about the important role that plants play in our lives, and to really show people the important intersection between the natural and the built environments.
One of the things I love about Phipps, you're always thinking about how to combine the outside with the inside and how to do it the right way and make it better. Now, while all the sustainable planting is going on, Phipps has an amazing collection of plants, attracting thousands of visitors every year. You know, come to think of it, I haven't seen Patty in a while. Patty! Hey, Patty! Hey, Patty!
There's a blizzard outside, but I'm nice and warm here in the Phipps Conservatory with the assistant curator, Ben Dunnigan. How many plants do you have here in the conservatory?
Well, I'd say about 20,000 different plants, but it's hard to know exactly for sure.
Wow, that's incredible. I saw walking around that you have incorporated a lot of edibles in here as well.
Yeah, we did, and in fact, right now we're standing in the tropical fruit and spice room, and we're surrounded by all types of fruits and spices and nuts that you might want to try sometime.
So this is coffee.
Yeah, you bet. I start my day with it. And it's actually from Africa. A lot of people think that it comes from South America, but in fact it comes from Ethiopia.
Oh, I can't live without it, person.
Me too. Right here we have the cinnamon tree. When you're eating cinnamon, you're actually eating the bark. This is where the spice comes from.
Oh, wow.
And I'm just gonna scratch just a little bit off of it. See if you can get a smell of that.
Mmm. Love cinnamon.
Yeah, me too. No, Patty, I should really point out the grass that's growing over there. That's sugarcane. And the scientific name is kind of interesting. It's called Saccharum officinarum. And if you listen closely, there is the word rum in both of those words.
Oh, I love rum. Sugarcane rum especially.
We are in the fruit and spice room, and this star fruit right here is absolutely ripe if you want to try one.
Yeah, sure.
Sneak in here and grab one. So this is a star fruit, and you can tell by the shape of it why it's
Star.
called that.
Yeah. So,
And it's absolutely ripe right now, so give it a shot.
so good. This would make a great juice.
Oh, it really does. Well, while we're tasting things, let's give a kumquat a try. What do you say?
Sure.
What's interesting about a kumquat is it's one of the few citrus fruits that you actually eat the rind. So you can just take a bite right out of it. You don't need to peel it like you do an orange.
It smells very citrusy, kind of orangey. So good. The rind is really good too.
It is. It's very sweet, and it's got a little bit of a sweet tart flavor. Well, while we're talking about citrus, I'd like to point out the pomelo. Pomelo is the largest of all citrus fruit, and it actually is similar to a grapefruit, I would say. A little sweeter, not quite as bitter. Oh, Patty, I just remembered. I've got one other fruit tree that you really need to see, but it's in another part of the conservatory. You want to go take a look at it?
Yeah, I wonder what that is.
Well, Patty, here we are. The chocolate tree.
Oh my gosh, this is a chocolate tree?
You bet, here it is. You can clearly see all the pods that are growing on it right now. I'd like to show you one. It's about the size of a Nerf football, and each pod contains 20 to 60 seeds, or we call them cacao beans. Those, Theobroma is the name of chocolate, and that translates into the Maya culture as food of the gods.
Ah. Well, you've got me craving chocolate right about now, and at home we have a great family favorite that we love making, and that's molten chocolate cake. No doubt Chef Nathan Lyon can show us how to make it from scratch.
Don't you just love the flavor and smell of chocolate? I do, and that's why today we're making one of the most decadent desserts ever, a molten chocolate cake. Okay, how you feeling? Your heart okay? Mine's okay. So it's really fast and easy to make. I have the oven set for 425, okay? Just a couple steps. One, I have over here a small pot filled with a little bit of water that's simmering, and over top of that, I'm gonna add just this little bowl, just like that. That's a bain-marie. And the reason why I'm doing that is if I melt chocolate in the bottom of a pan, it separates. We don't want that to happen. We want to respect the chocolate. It took a lot of effort. It's a lot of fantastic flavor in here. So what I'm doing is just chop it up into smaller pieces so it melts a lot faster. All right, and that's just about enough. And the rest of this, little snack for the chef. Now the chocolate goes inside this bowl just to melt. Oh, looks awesome. All right, now to that, I'm gonna add a little bit of butter. Okay, it's a little bit more than a little bit of butter. It's a whole stick of butter, in fact. But that's okay because the butter disperses amongst quite a few people with this dessert, so we'll just pretend that never happened. Just makes things that much more decadent. So we have the chocolate and the butter melting in the bain-marie. So let's prepare the ramekins, because that's what we're preparing this in. So all I've done with a couple of these is just take a little bit of butter and smoosh it all around there. Whatever you have left over, just use your fingers. And now they're all coated, put a little bit of granulated sugar in the bottom, and we're gonna turn it over the next ramekin, like that. And now we'll do the other three. And now the ramekins are ready. Just one more step before we throw these in the oven. We need some leavener and some of that unctuousness, okay? That's where the eggs come into play. And what I've already done is I've already cracked a couple eggs, so 2 whole eggs, and now I need just 2 extra yolks, no whites. So let's separate these eggs so we can save the whites, maybe for breakfast tomorrow morning. A little bit of sugar, granulated sugar. Okay, and now we're gonna whisk this until it's tripled in size and has this beautiful canary yellow color. Watch this. Okay, you know what? When you make this at home, don't do the same mistake I did. Use a bowl large enough that you can whisk this in. Just transfer the bowls. Here we go. You know what? Even chefs make mistakes. But may this be the worst thing that ever happens to me. Here we go. Until triple in size.
All right, that is perfect. It's really thick. It's this beautiful canary yellow color, just like this beautiful shirt. Do a quick cleanup and grab yourself a spatula, all right? So with this spatula, I'll slowly stir this just to make sure the chocolate is melted. And we can definitely turn off the heat as well. And I'll just slowly stir this, and you'll see the whole thing come together. It's a beautiful sight. I'm gonna push this off to the side. And now I don't want to add this really hot chocolate to this to the egg mixture because it's going to deflate. I don't want that to happen, so I'll stir it for maybe 30-40 seconds to let it cool down just a little bit. So I'm going to add slowly a little bit of this chocolate to the egg mixture, and then we'll stir it a little bit and we'll do the rest. There we go. That looks pretty good. Now we'll just add the rest. No. There's raw egg in there. Okay, I almost did that. And we'll stir this in. And while I'm stirring, I'm gonna sprinkle over a little bit of all-purpose flour. Okay, and that's gonna give us a little structure of these molten chocolate cakes. Now that looks delicious. Perfect. And now in the oven they go. Again, already set 425 degrees. And when they come back out, chocolate heaven. And there we go. Little molten chocolate cake, but how do we know it's molten? Well, come on in and I'll show you. And that's how we know it's molten in the center. Just like that. A little bit of fresh mint as a garnish, never hurt anybody. And in that goes. You know, for this beautiful chocolate recipe and all my other recipes, go to growingagreenerworld.com. Enjoy.
As past president of the American Public Gardens Association, Richard sees a lot of gardens. But one thing he said to me really stood out. 50 million people visit gardens each year while looking to us for inspiration and learning. That's a tremendous opportunity to help change gardening practices for the better. And who better to get the message across than public gardens?
A lot has changed since Phipps was built.
At a time when resources seemed unlimited, we now know that rate of consumption is unsustainable.
But thanks to its new leaders, this conservatory and botanical garden is setting a new standard for environmental stewardship.
And it's another way to see that you really can green your garden while protecting the planet. We have so much more to share with you on our Twitter and Facebook pages, but a great place to start is right at our website at growingagreenerworld.com. I'm Joe Lample.
And I'm Patty Moreno.
And we'll see you back here next time for more Growing a Greener World.